How
Hey,
are you?
I am
How are you?
so ready for this.
Yay, good to see you.
Yeah, you too.
Happy you're with us.
Thanks for doing this.
Yeah. So, my name is Ashley Jones, and I want to let you two introduce yourselves.
I'm Brianna Boyer.
Can you come back, Genevieve?
Want me to introduce myself?
Yes.
Yeah, I'm Genevieve Lowe, participant for the first half of this project.
Yes. So we had to have her come back. We are going to talk about reparations and how we feel prisoners deserve reparations for marijuana charges, if they have any. First, we want to show you in the chat, there is a survey, a poll really, that we would love for you to just fill out quickly, just a couple questions. And then it's anonymous, so don't worry about what we don't know and what we do know, because we won't know. So it is all anonymous, and I'm gonna get started. I'm gonna share the screen.
No, I sent that link out under my name. So if you look for it, it's under my name.
Can you send it one more time because I joined late? Please?
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Oh, come on. One moment, please. There you go.
All right, so our research project is on Washington State cannabis reparations. This is a restorative justice check-in as Washington approaches a decade of legalized recreational marijuana. I'm gonna be running these slides, and I will speak on some of these slides, but I have turned off my camera just in case something happens. So Bree, I could see you as well, so just let me know if I need to slow down or anything like that. Thank you.
Yep.
All right, so the first slide is all about the process of legalizing marijuana. Initiative 502 was established, and people voted, people signed docs all throughout 2011 and majority of 2012 to the point where recreational marijuana was legalized on December 6, 2012. On this side, on the right side, you will see a few other just facts that had happened throughout that process, but they're kind of not up to date now. So I don't know what's going on with. I'm pretty sure Initiative 502 is there, but it's not in action because everything is legalized. And what is marijuana? Marijuana is a plant, of course. It is a plant, and in certain substance of the plant, as far as being dry, being wet, it produces certain chemicals that will allow your body to respond in different ways. The amounts and mixtures of molecules vary, and genetics of plants grow, and the practices and the timing of harvest all affect the actual control and enjoyment of marijuana. You want to go ahead and do this one, Bree?
Yep. One moment, please.
So I just want to give a little bit of background. This is some current news that is going on right now in Washington State. And Bree could explain further on that, but we really want our audience to be aware of this because these changes will be made pretty soon.
Sorry, my thing got out of me. 1 second here.
It's okay, I can read it. Current developments.
No, okay, got it.
Go ahead. All right.
Okay. So on the first slide here, this is the current developments. And what this is the Washington State Supreme Court versus Blake. And what this is, as of February 25th of 2021, the Washington State Supreme Court in State versus Blake declared unconstitutional that Washington's strict liability drug possession statute, which criminalized unintentional, unknowing possession of controlled substances without a prescription. This decision is having a massive impact on counties and cities throughout the state. With the state legislature and some local governments considering their next steps, holding that law exceeds the state's police power and violates the due processes clauses in the state and federal constitutions. It sounds complicated, but Washington's simple position, but it's simple. Washington's simple possession of a controlled substance statute violates the due process clauses on state and federal constitution, and therefore it makes it void, is the basic understanding of that. I have a short video here I'd like for you to watch. Ashley, can you hit that for me?
Mm-hmm.
I'm not getting any sound. You may not have shared the sound when you shared your screen.
Oh, really?
Yeah, sometimes
You
you
say,
yeah, you might have to stop sharing and reshare to like check a box when you share it.
oh, I got it. Okay, thank you. See, that's why we need you. Okay, so then you said to share screen again?
Yeah,
Okay.
there should be a little check mark, share sound.
Oh, okay. Thank you.
Hi, Joyce. You may remember voters back in 2012 passed the legalization of marijuana sales in the state. And since then, it's become a multi-billion-dollar industry for the state. And today, a new state law will be sharing some of that wealth with a segment of the population that feels left out, minorities.
Do you want to get an ounce worth?
No one really knew if it would work.
We have the Thai Coast Cherry.
Washington and Colorado were the first to legalize the production and sale of pot. But the business has grown like a weed. Sorry.
It's going to be $80.
But the success has not been universal. Look at these self-reported numbers from pot license holders in the state. 82% identified themselves as non-minority or white. 7% said they were Asian, 3% black, and 2% Hispanic.
This is House Bill 1443. It makes changes to the Social Equity and Cannabis Task Force.
A new law aims to make those numbers more representative of the state's population. Minorities interested in getting into the pot business will have the first chance at new licenses. They qualify for grant funding from taxes generated by pot sales. They'll be able to get help from industry experts, and licenses will be offered to a group once prohibited from applying. Those convicted of pot-related crimes originally did not qualify for licenses, but under the new law, they not only can apply, they will get priority treatment in getting licenses. Those convictions will be an advantage.
So practicing equity in cannabis, in the cannabis industry, is extremely important for inclusion in the state of Washington.
Pierce County Democratic Representative Melanie Morgan sponsored the bill. She co-chaired the state's Equity in Cannabis Task Force with Paula Sardinas.
This bill not only takes into consideration the unfair, very predatory and discriminatory war on drugs that was predicated on the African American community, but it takes into consideration that we often don't have the tools and the resources in our communities to be competitive.
The governor signed a big stack of bills today. Another one that went into effect immediately will require school districts to test for lead in their on-campus drinking water, and districts are required to provide water that's as clean as bottled water. Live in Olympia, Drew Mickelson, King 5 News.
So that's some really fantastic news going on. But just to let you know that, you know, this is, I don't know how many people know this, but now that this is going to happen,
this
you know,
feels
some
so
of the
natural and so lightweight, and it does not feel cakey.
So just so everybody knows that, COVID has slowed everything down, unfortunately. And with the new laws that are coming in, it's what I'm trying to say is, it's the Department of Corrections' responsibility to carry out sentences imposed by courts. They do not have the authority to amend or correct judgments to people that have already been convicted in their sentences. The department cannot, they must wait for the court to issue any order vacating conviction, amending judgment, dismissal, or direct
Hi,
release.
Joyce, you may remember.
That's going to be happening with some of these laws that are overturned. As of February 28, 2021, the estimated number of individuals impacted by the conviction of simple possession are as follows. The following: fewer than 100 people statewide are currently incarcerated with only a simple possession conviction. Fewer than 700 people statewide have been sentenced to community supervision on a simple possession conviction. Now, the number of people that have been convicted with additional convictions on top of that simple possession is fewer than 2,600 people that are now incarcerated with the simple possession conviction, and additional convictions that are also around 3,900 people statewide who are serving community suspension on a simple possession and additional convictions. With the impact in the implications of State versus Blake, the courts will determine which cases, convictions, and individuals are affected and hopefully continue to make injustices correct.
Thank you, Bree. Now we go into reparations. So what is reparations? Reparations, as defined, is making amends for a wrong one has done by paying money to or otherwise helping those who have been wronged. So cannabis reparations that are going on right now, there is some discussion in New York, the state of New York, about serving cannabis reparations as New York just legalized marijuana. Evanston City, Illinois has approved a reparations proposal, a cannabis reparations proposal for Black residents. Like it was stated in the last reparations presentation, Black residents in Illinois can receive housing assistance and economic development benefits from a 3% tax revenue brought on by the cannabis sales. This right here, that is going to be the next slide, is the actual video of how this has happened in that city.
We are doing a lot of ceremony and tons of apologies and not enough work. Reparations is important and it is necessary so that we can start to repair the damages done to Black residents based on the foundation of this nation. The city of Evanston, Illinois has approved a 3% tax on the recreational cannabis, and we have approved to use those revenue proceeds to fund a reparation for Black Evanston residents. I've heard of some other cities that are doing some great work in designated communities that also are primarily Black, but we are the first to designate a reparation fund. My intentions are that the payment be directly to the Black resident and not where we might identify a program or a service and then we pay an organization that administers a service. I don't want that to happen, because this is not to strengthen nonprofits or other organizations in town. This is to be a direct investment into the community that has $46,000 less household income than the average white household. We have a declining Black population. In the 90s, we had 25% Black community, and it's been a steady decline. We're at 16% right now. So it was that decline, that exodus of Black families that had me emboldened to do something that is radically different, but as radical as the discrimination and oppression that we have dealt with from redlining and the impact of Jim Crow in our city. Because 71% of the marijuana arrests were Black, because it's a new tax, because it is an emerging multi-billion-dollar legal industry now that is celebrated and welcomed, and you can go and buy it with your state ID if you're 21 and older. And a month ago, it was criminal. It was criminal, and it was criminalizing Black people. I hate to say intentionally, but intentionally. The record shows 71%. So there certainly was some targeting happening. We might be an example that other cities will consider, and we might inspire our national elected to look at it at a different angle.
This money could vary on how long they were in for. Reparations could also be cleaning their record of past criminal charges related to cannabis. Since marijuana has been legal since December of 2012, we believe in Washington anyone with weed charges on their record should be erased. A part of this new advocacy is a need to create new employment opportunities for people with minor marijuana possession charges. A new bill should allow employment opportunities in the marijuana industry, farms, labs, dispensaries, retail stores for people with minor marijuana possessions charges, and other legal substances.
Yes, that's our research partner, Israel. That was his beautiful voice, going over just kind of what we are asking for when we say reparations. Where can this money go to? How can this money be allocated better? The efforts to legalize marijuana are meaningless without offers of reparation. The war on drugs was led by the United States, aimed to decrease the illicit sale and use of drugs by increasing prison sentencing for drug dealers and users. Black and Latinx were most targeted by law enforcement, stopped, searched, arrested, convicted, sentenced, and stuck with a criminal record. Nearly 80% of people in federal prison and 60% of people in state prison are in prison for drug offenses. Marijuana convictions can be long-lasting sentences resulting in physical, mental imprisonment. People lose job opportunities and separation from families, as well as other health issues, and just being able to bounce back when they are returned into society. Bree, would you like me to read this quote? I'll read it. Okay. Your decision to place your law enforcement resources in the communities is racism, but nobody has called people out on this. The law itself is not racist, but people's decision about where we're going to place our efforts, who we're going to prosecute, who we're not going to prosecute is racism. And nobody's calling them on it. That is a great quote by Carl Hart, an American sociologist and neuroscience scientist, sorry. Thank you for coming to our presentation. Thank you for hanging in there with all those different technical difficulties. We appreciate your understanding. Does anyone have any questions? Thank you.
Do I have to raise my hand?
You don't.
All right. So in the course of doing your research on this, did you guys study, or you all study how the justice system is rolling out releasing people?
We
They
didn't.
haven't rolled out. They haven't got to that point yet. I don't think they know how they're going to do it yet.
So
Because I mean, all this just came down within the last week. It's all brand new.
well, no, it's been out since February. So I'll give you some.
Well, since February, yeah. But,
yeah. So
yeah.
I will add some context. So, me currently, since I was a teen, I've had 2 unlawful possessions of a controlled substance on my record. It prevented me from enlisting in the Navy and the Army. So I was disabled, so to speak, with these unconstitutional charges placed on me. I'm currently trying to get them off of my record. I did a sentence of 21 years, and still today they're saying, we don't know how to handle you because you're out. Well, I said, well, I'm not out. I have 19 months of community service that you still have me, and I did 9 years over the sentence according to SRA. The prosecutor called me specifically and said, you have no standing. You're out. So enjoy freedom. And he argued to me very specifically that you possess those drugs, so therefore you knew you were wrong, period. And that's current. It blew my mind that instead of talking about how to repair a wrong that happened to me, he was trying to further keep me incarcerated. And that's current. And many people are dealing with this across the state. There's some people that are incarcerated right now under this law, and they won't allow you to file a motion. They won't give you a date, a schedule, or anything. They're saying they have an internal system that says, we don't know how to handle this, so when we get to you, we get to you.
Good things are going to happen.
Yeah. I would be interested. I mean, it shouldn't just be going back to 2012. I think it would go back indefinite. And one thing I didn't get in there, the governor has recently made some remarks that was quite shocking, and I didn't get it into the presentation, but I'd like to show it to you. Let me get into share screen here real fast.
So while you pull that up, the 5-4 ruling said that since 1970, all drug convictions for simple possession is unconstitutional and have to be removed. That's the language they used.
Where is that?
Bree, it should still be in the presentation and the notes too. The C-SPAN video. Is that what you're looking for?
Oh, I know what doing in one way.
Happen in this country.
Now, a question I was not expecting to ask you when I woke up this morning, but the Mexican Parliament came in with some news that makes it relevant, I think. They are pushing to create the world's biggest legal marijuana market. And of course, Washington State was one of the first states in the country that did move in that direction as well for adult sales in 2014. I was wondering, is that a competitive situation that you're keeping an eye on? And with the benefit of hindsight, now that we're sort of 7 years into this market in the US, is there anything you do differently? And I'm thinking now around the situation where you have Black communities and other communities consuming marijuana in roughly the same amounts, but the incarceration rates for the Black communities are a lot higher. And just wondering if you've got any reflections on those last 7 years with that in mind, or got any competitive ambitions now that Mexico is moving in on your game?
I don't look at this from a competitive standpoint. You ask a direct question, do I lose sleep over that? No, I don't. What I would say is that our experience in Washington has been uniformly positive. on any way you score this, from a reduction of, unnecessary law enforcement and criminal activity that really wasn't benefiting our community, on creating jobs in a new industry, on giving people more freedom in their personal decision making with no demonstrable, horrendous health impacts. It's been shown by this. So by any measure, it's been a very successful enterprise. As far as the things I'd do differently, I probably would have embraced this position of decriminalizing it earlier had I known how successful this has been, with not any really large increase in juvenile usage, which was a concern while we were debating this. So I would have done it earlier. We still have some challenges getting capital to communities of color so that they can get into this industry. And we're trying to work through that to have a more diverse population of business people in this industry. That's one of the things we're working on. But I don't think whatever Mexico does I don't believe is going to have a downside for us in Washington.
Mm-hmm. Now, I guess.
So it's interesting. If you go back and just look at the numbers from states that had decriminalized before this even happened, the statistics and the numbers were all there to inform people. And it's just like they choose to ignore what's happening. And that's exactly what we did here in the state of Washington, was ignore the numbers from prior states that already had done it and stuff. So it's interesting.
Yeah, and I will say that our group, none of us was really aware of these things. Like, some of this news was kind of developing as we were doing our research. So it was a lot of us having to educate ourselves on what this means. What is the laws currently? What are these numbers currently? And like, even late last night, we found the sales revenue, all those numbers for 2020. So we do foresee this project like continuing because there's so much more information coming like daily. So
Yeah, I wanted to say, thank you so much, Paris, for speaking up, because you're the voice of somebody living it. And yeah, we were all researchers, we're interested, and we believe that, you've been obviously served serious injustice. So we didn't, your evidence that it's still a problem and that everyone who's in earshot needs to keep doing the work. So thanks.
You're welcome. Thank you.
No, thank you, Paris. Our paths have crossed a few times over the last year and a half here, and I don't get to talk to you nearly enough. So thank you.
You're welcome.